welcome to AGK's Vinyl Life. I'm your host, Anthony K. And on this week's episode, I'm doing something very different. I'm doing a contest entry. That's right, I'm doing a contest entry. I looked on my YouTube channel to see when was the last time I did a contest entry, and it was actually August 7th, 2020. I don't normally enter contests. I just don't have time to do contest videos. But this contest, I had to enter, and it's for this particular reason. And that reason is, it's for Richard McCook. And the reason why I'm doing Richard McCook's contest is because Richard McCook is one of 5 channels that I used to watch before I ever had a channel. He was one of my top 5 channels. I loved watching Richard, and I still love watching Richard's videos. He was one of 5 people that I watched that inspired me to start my channel. So as a thank you to Richard for inspiring me to start my own YouTube channel just under 2 years ago, I'm doing this contest as a salute to you, Richard. And I wore my ELO hat and concert tee from the ELO, Jeff Lynne's ELO tour of 2018, just for you, because I know you're a big ELO fan, Richard. So hats off to you, my friend, for 3 years in the VC. And let's jump into the contest, shall we? Richard's contest is pretty simple, pretty basic. Of course, you have to be a subscriber to Richard's channel. You have to film a video. You have to let Richard know in the comments below his original contest video, which I will post a link to in my description below. There will be a link to Richard's original contest video. So sub up Richard if you're already not sub to him. Check out his contest video and enter his contest. Let's get on with it, shall we? And the first question was to show the best and worst albums from 3 artists in your collection. So I have got 3 artists here, and that was a tough one because I tend not to keep the worst albums by an artist or buy them. But so I had to go with artists that I'm a completist on, because whether it's a bad album or not, I just have to have it to complete my collection of that artist. So I picked three artists that I am a completist on. And the first artist I'm going to show you guys is one of my favorite artists of all time, and they are The Clash. And this is London Calling. This album is absolutely brilliant, of course, with the homage cover to the Elvis Presley album, London Calling by The Clash. This album is brilliance, absolute punk brilliance from 1979. I absolutely adore this album. It is fantastic. This is a recent reissue that I've got, and it came out as a double LP, which, you know, not many albums back in the day were released as double LPs. It was always risky when you released a double LP worth of material. But this London Calling by The Clash, as far as I'm concerned, is probably in the top 20 albums of my lifetime. I would rank this one in my top 20 favorite albums of my life, and I think it's a must-have in every single record collection on the planet. The Clash, London Calling, I think their best album, for me personally, their best album. And now to go to their worst album, we're going to go with the public opinion. Like, I love all the Clash albums, I really do, I love all the Clash albums. But if I had to rank them, this would be their worst album, and this was The Clash, Cut the Crap. That's right, it was their last release as a band. They'd already, members of the band had left the band. It wasn't the full Clash at this point. And when they released this would be their last release as a band, studio release as a band. Cut the Crap. This is a original first Japanese pressing of Cut the Crap on Epic Records with the liner. Cut the Crap by The Clash. But I like this album. I really do. I know a lot of people panned it and don't like it and consider it their worst album. But I did like this album. There were a couple of really, really killer songs on this. Like We Are the Clash, classic. Are You Red? Why? Another classic. Movers and Shakers, This Is England. I mean, there were some great tracks on this album. But unfortunately, it just didn't do well for them. It was their final outing before they disbanded. The Clash, Cut the Crap, their worst album. Okay, the next up is the second artist that I'm going to show you guys. And this is, of course, I've shown this fellow, and I've shown this album. And this is one of my top 3 favorite artists of all time. So what better artist to show you, one that I know better than any other artist, is, of course, my childhood hero, whatever you want to say, Alice Cooper. And without question, $1 Billion Babies, his masterpiece. I mean, I love all of Alice's albums. You know, I'm an Alice Cooper completist, so I do love everything that Alice Cooper has put out to some extent. But he has had some rough patches in his career. This is a Rocktober reissue. This one's actually worth a lot of money. It was a limited edition reissue, recreating the full $1 Billion Babies experience with the cutout wallet cards and then the notes in behind. It also has, of course, the $1 billion bill. Recreated the inner liner perfectly and presented it on this gorgeous, with the green Warner label on this gorgeous $1 Billion Babies green vinyl. $1 Billion Babies, still to this day Alice Cooper's masterpiece, though he has made so many great albums. But yeah, I'm going to put that down as the best album from Alice Cooper. And then going to the worst album from Alice Cooper. I don't even have this album in vinyl in my collection, and I should, and one day I will grab it just to complete the collection on vinyl. And that is this one here, and I'm going to show you the CD version. Zipper Catches Skin. Zipper Catches Skin was a mess. This really was a mess. Originally released, I think, 1982, released in 1982. Zipper Catches Skin was recorded in the time period that Alice Cooper doesn't remember, because he was so inebriated and so burned out and such a mess physically that he honestly admits he doesn't remember. He doesn't remember much from about 1979 till about 1983. It's just a big blur to him. And this album was one of the ones that was recorded in this period. This is, in my opinion, the weakest album in his library. Zipper Catches Skin. There was just nothing great about it. Alice Cooper, Zipper Catches Skin. A disaster. And this could maybe go down for the next question that's going to be coming from Richard McCook about CDs that you want to have on album, which we'll get to in a minute. But definitely his worst outing. And last but not least, the third artist I'm going to show you guys of that question is, of course, another of my all-time favorite bands of all time, probably in my top 5 bands, personal favorite artists of all time. So I know them better than any other artist. And that is Thin Lizzy, my favorite Thin Lizzy album. And a lot of people would probably say Jailbreak. A lot of people that know Thin Lizzy would probably jump on Jailbreak, and certainly Jailbreak is one I absolutely love. But something about this album for me made it their best album. This is Thin Lizzy's Bad Reputation. Thin Lizzy, Bad Reputation. And this is an original first UK press that I'm so blessed to have. An original first UK pressing of Thin Lizzy's Bad Reputation, and on the classic Vertigo Spaceship label. Vertigo Spaceship label. Thin Lizzy, Bad Reputation. This thing sounds gorgeous. And definitely my favorite album. A 10 out of 10 for me. There's not a bad song on the album. It's just such a fantastic album, with things like Southbound, Dancing in the Moonlight, Killer Without a Clause, then the kind of 3 songs that all blend into each other, Downtown, Sundown, That Woman's Gonna Break Your Heart, and Dear Lord, plus other things like Opium Trail, Soldier of Fortune. This is a 10 out of 10. Fantastic stuff by Thin Lizzy, and first UK pressing. And the second album I'm going to show you, which is probably, I would consider their worst album, is their second release. Their first couple albums were on Decca Records when they were still trying to find their way as a band, and they went through a lot of personnel changes. Their first album I really love. Their very first debut album I really love. And then the album after this one, Vagabonds of the Western World, which would really kind of launch them into stardom, would be their first really successful album. But in between Vagabonds of the Western World and the Thin Lizzy's debut album was this album here called Shades of a Blue Orphanage. And this album just, for me, never found its footing with me. I have it to be a completist, and this is a recent, very recent reissue. Shades of a Blue Orphanage. And you know, it's good to throw on once in a while, but there was no songs that just really caught me at all on on this album. And so for me, this would be their worst album. It was just an album that, I don't know, it just didn't have, it was missing a lot. It followed up what they'd done on their first album, but not as well as what they'd done on their first album. And of course, they would drastically change their sound come the next album, Vagabonds of the Western World. So Thin Lizzy and Shades of a Blue Orphanage, their worst. So that's question number 1. And the second question we'll get to in a second. But before we do that, just want to remind everybody that if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Thumbs up always make people feel good. And if you're not a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe and turn that notification bell on so you don't miss any of my videos. And comments welcome down below. I always reply to all my comments. And last but not least, follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is @AGK_lifetime of vinyl, where I post my spin of the day every day, among other things. So let's get on with question number 2 now of Richard's contest. And one of the things I've always loved about Richard's channel, and one of the reasons I watched him more than anything, is because of his perspective on music. Here in Canada, we were exposed back in the 70s and 80s, we were exposed to certain music. And in the UK, of course, they were exposed to a lot of the same music, but a lot of different music. So what I love about Richard's channel is that he shows a lot of music that we were never even exposed to here in Canada. And he shows artists that really weren't popular here in Canada or got basically no airplay that I discovered. And so Richard and I have in common a lot of artists that I don't see other people on the VC showing or talking about. I was always one to venture out and try UK artists that weren't big here. So one of the things I've always loved about Richard's channel is the artists that he shows and the original artists that he shows that a lot of channels don't show. So hats off to you, Richard, for that. So with that being said, let's get on to question number 2. And question number 2 was to show 3 CDs you would like to have on vinyl, or 3 things you have on vinyl that you would like on CD. So I chose to do the first option, to show 3 things that I have on CD that I would like on vinyl. And I actually showed you the Alice Cooper a second ago, the Zipper Catches Skin, though it's not an official entry to that question. But here's 3 things that I picked randomly from my CD collection. And the first one is an album by a Canadian band called Headstones and Picture of Health. This came out in 1993, of course, when vinyl had pretty much ended here in Canada. Our vinyl pretty much phased out from 1991 to 1993. And when this album was released by the Headstones, it was brilliant. And I've only ever seen it on CD. I would love to have this on vinyl. I hope they repress this on vinyl one day, and I can get myself a copy of this on vinyl, because this is just a fantastic rockin' album. Kind of alternative, somewhere in alternative and grunge and straight up punk rock. There's punk in here, there's alternative, there's grunge. Picture of Health by the Headstones. This album is a 10 out of 10. I love every single song in this album. This thing was brilliant. It had such great things on it as It's All Over, Heart of Darkness. Big single off this was When Something Stands for Nothing. There was Tweeter and the Monkey Man. Absolutely. It was just a non-stop 10 out of 10. I love this album. Highly recommend Headstones, Picture of Health. I would love to have this on vinyl and at least see it repressed on vinyl. So the second group I'm going to show you is another one that's only on CD. They've never been released on vinyl. And these 2 albums I'm going to show you here are from 1994 and 1995, of course, when the CD age had fully taken over here in Canada. And I would love to see these things released on vinyl. I would love to see these on vinyl. And they are from a group called the Barcelona Tribe of Soulsters, which were known as B-Tribe for short. That's right, B-Tribe, B-Tribe for short. But they were called the Barcelona Tribe of Soulsters. From Spain, B-Tribe. And this music was in the tradition of the fantastic Enigma. Very, very much styled ambient, electronic ambient music like Enigma. B-Tribe, I highly recommend if you can find either of these CDs. They released about 5 CDs. I've got them all before they kind of broke up and changed their path. But they released 5 CDs under the B-Tribe name. And they are fantastic. This is their debut album, Fiesta Fatale, which is absolutely brilliant. I want these on vinyl. Somebody press these albums on vinyl. B-Tribe and Fiesta Fatale from 1994. Brilliant, brilliant album. And followed by Suave in 1995. Also an absolutely fantastic CD. And I want these on vinyl. I want these on vinyl. Like I said, this is like taking Pink Floyd and mixing it with Enigma or something. This is ambient heaven. These albums are just ambient heaven. I absolutely love them. Please, somebody press these to vinyl. Press their whole catalog, but at least press these two. And the last thing I'm going to show you, because I'm going to show you a couple of things here, are, of course, people know I'm a big trance and techno fan. When albums disappeared in the 90s, I was getting tired of all the 90s music, and in 1999 through to about 2005, all I listened to, I pretty much stopped listening to all my other artists and everything. And pretty much everything I was listening to from about 99 through 2004 was trance and techno. I was just taken away by trance and techno. And of course, 99% of trance and techno albums were not released on vinyl, and certainly never appeared here on vinyl, and I've even discogged them, and they're just not on vinyl. And there were some absolutely brilliant albums by artists in that period that were only released on CD, and I picked three that I would absolutely love to see on vinyl. And the first one is Alice DJ, Who Needs Guitars Anyway, which had massive hits in it. Back in My Life and Better Off Alone were massive hits, but there was about 5 singles from this particular CD. Alice DJ, Who Needs Guitars Anyway, and this is actually the import version of the CD with the cooler cover. The North American cover on the CD was actually censored. That's right, they actually censored the cover of the CD in the North American version of the CD. So this is the original version of the CD cover. Alice DJ, Who Needs Guitars Anyway? Vocal trance at its finest. A fantastic album. I want to see this on vinyl. It's a 10 out of 10. And the next one is a German artist, also trance and techno. I'm going to show you 3 trance and techno artists here. The next artist is a German trance and techno artist, vocal trance once again, called Roller Girl. And the album is called Now I'm Singing, The Party Keeps on Rolling. Roller Girl. She was hot, I tell you. She was one hot looking girl. And when she performed all her music videos. She wore roller skates. And even when she performed live, she wore roller skates. And that was her thing. And it was some fantastic vocal trance. Really like almost pop vocal trance. Just fun music. Roller Girl. I would love to see this debut album of hers pressed to vinyl. Absolutely. Just absolute fun, great trance music. And the last one I'm going to show you from this question is my favorite trance and techno album of all time. It's trance. It's just an absolutely brilliant album, gorgeous album, beautiful music. It goes from trance to ambient. It's got spoken passages in it. It's an absolutely brilliant album. I want this on vinyl. Put this on vinyl one day, please. It's DJ Saken and Friends, Walk on Fire. DJ Saken and Friends, Walk on Fire. This thing is absolutely heavenly. It's brilliant. It is just such a great album. If you guys can find it, look it up. It's just an incredible spin of one of the finest examples of trance music ever to be released. Definitely my favorite album in all of my trance. DJ Saken and Friends, Walk on Fire. Please, somebody put this on vinyl. And the last question up, and question number 3, the last thing that Richard wants us to show him in his contest video is 3 albums by artists where all you really need is a best of album. So I've got 3 different albums here by 3 different artists, all best ofs. And one of them you guys are going to probably not be too nice to me in the comments about when I tell you. Well, the first one is Tommy James and the Shondells, and the best of Tommy James and the Shondells. 60s psych at its finest. This is everything you would ever need from Tommy James and the Shondells. And this is a recent remaster reissue on 180 gram vinyl with that classic, Roulette Records label on it. And it's a gorgeous sounding reissue. This is a Friday Music reissue, so it's been beautifully mastered. It sounds fantastic. The best of Tommy James and the Shondells, with, of course, the classic songs on it. Crystal Blue, Persuasion, Moni Moni, which, of course, Billy Idol would make a big hit out of many years later. Baby Baby, I Can't Take It No More. Hanky Panky, and, of course, the incredible full-length version of Crimson and Clover, an absolute classic. The best of Tommy James and the Shondells, a must-have. The next one I'm going to show you here is from another very popular late 70s, early 80s band who are still together today. And this is a recent release of theirs, a recent 2 LP greatest hits release. And they are Toto. And this is 40 Trips Around the Sun. It's their 40th anniversary greatest hits release. And for me, I mean, Toto made some great music, but I think this greatest hits here gives you everything you could really ever want from Toto. A really, really great package, 2 LP package, everything you could want from Toto, of course, including all their great songs, Alone, and that's newly remastered, Spanish Sea, which was newly recorded, and then, of course, just all the classics on here, like Pamela, Hold the Line, Georgie Porgy, Roseanne, Africa, and more. This album right here is probably all you need by Toto. I highly recommend this particular spin. And last but not least on the show today, answering the third and final question in Richard's contest, is a band that are overplayed, over-talked about, overhyped. They only made 8 studio albums, 1 absolutely horrendous live album, and 1 album made of cutting room floor leftovers called Coda. So I think, yeah, you guys know who I'm talking about, and that's Led Zeppelin, and I'll probably get bashed in the comments for it. But for me personally, I don't think Led Zeppelin were that great, and I think this greatest hits album, this greatest hits box, is all you need from Led Zeppelin. I do love their very first album, their debut album, Led Zeppelin. I love that. That's a 10 out of 10 right through. And I do like In Through the Outdoor, their last studio album that they recorded. I do like that. I think that's a 10 out of 10. But everything in between, including Led Zeppelin 4, the classic Led Zeppelin 4, I don't think were 10 out of 10 albums. In fact, Led Zeppelin's 2, 3, Houses of the Holy, Physical Graffiti, Presence, all those albums, to me, there was 50% of great material on it and 50% of throwaway material on it. And even Led Zeppelin 4, there was a couple of songs I just absolutely hated on Led Zeppelin 4, like Going to California. But that's me, you know, like, you want to bash me in the comments, go ahead and bash me, but that's how I feel about Led Zeppelin. They never did anything for me, really. So this box set right here is absolutely brilliant, and it actually has every single song that I like by Led Zeppelin on it. There's not one song that on this box set that I don't like. So for me, this greatest hits box is everything that I could ever want from Led Zeppelin, and it's called Mothership. It's the 4 LP box that condenses, 9 studio discs worth of material into 4 discs nicely, skips the Coda crap and the horrendous live album, and just takes all their best studio stuff and condenses it nicely into a box, into a 4 LP greatest hits. And you get 4 different albums. Get a nice booklet, get a really nice book, and then of course you get 4 discs with all the great stuff: Good Times, Bad Times, Communication Breakdown, Dazed and Confused, Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, Whole Lot of Love, Ramble On, Heartbreaker, Immigrant Song, Since I've Been Loving You, Rock and Roll, Black Dog, When the Levee Breaks, Stairway to Heaven. The song remains the same. As you can see, it's all the best tracks and none of the filler. Over the Hills and Far Away, Dire Maker, No Quarter, Trampled Underfoot, Houses of the Holy, Kashmir, and last but not least, the last disc, Nobody's Fault But Mine, Achilles' Last Stand, In the Evening, All My Love. That's pretty much everything you would ever need from Led Zeppelin as far as I'm concerned. So there you go. That's my contest entry. Don't bash me too hard for knocking Led Zeppelin here. But that's how I feel. Led Zeppelin were not a big deal for me. And this Mothership box set for me is everything I could ever want from Led Zeppelin. And that's it. That's all, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Congratulations, Richard, on 3 years in the VC. My 2-year anniversary is coming up at the end of February. Time flies. I can't believe I've been in the VC and making videos for almost 2 years already. But congratulations, Richard. Good luck with your contest. I will look forward to seeing your future videos, and I'll see all you guys later. And as I always say, rock and roll!